Neben mir sitzt Frank Rooke, der Game Director von Mad Max. And Frank, if you take a look at a game like Mad Max, it's called Mad Max at a time where the movie Mad Max Fury Road is in theaters and coming to Blu-ray. Is it a tie-in game as many people suspect or think, or is it completely standalone?
It's completely standalone, and we spent a lot of time making sure that we've developed our own version of Mad Max. We have our own story, we have our own cast of characters, the environments are all ours. However, the spirit, the heart of the game is very much the same that you see in the movies. So those two combine together, but overall we have a standalone game.
And if people go through the game, will there be some kind of characters and locations that they recognize from movies?
Well, of course, Mad Max. He's the primary character, but there is Gastown. You probably would recognize that name from Fury Road. They mentioned that a couple times. But other than that, no, we're sitting off in our own version of the Wasteland, and no more connections than that.
Before working on Mad Max, Avalanche Studios also worked on Just Cause 1 and 2, which are also third-person shooters. And are there some similarities in terms of gameplay?
No, I would say, well, yes and no. I would say no at the beginning because Max is grounded in the particular universe, which is the Mad Max universe, and I would say it also has a bit more realism, like it wants to be less crazy. Just Cause, you know, that's a world that's just opened up to do all kinds of nutty stuff. So I think there's a primary difference there, but at the same time, I would say the studio, the Avalanche studio, has a particular take on a type of game, and that is very much in both games.
So Mad Max is gonna throw the player into a very big open world. Can you tell us how big this open world actually is?
We don't have actual measurements, so we don't know square miles or square kilometers. However, you know, when you stand at one end and you see the distance, you see a horizon off in the distance, it could be a mountain, it could be anything, you can actually go to that. There is no part that you can see that you can't go to. It's huge, it's absolutely huge. And we made sure that there's things to do all the way from point A to point B. We didn't want to make it big just for the sake of being big, but I have to say it is quite huge.
I remember you travel by car most of the time, and the cars actually run on gas. What do you do if you run out of gas in the middle of nowhere? Are you as screwed as you would be in real life?
Oh, we do a couple of things. Maybe we cheat. We give the player a couple outs, but it will cost you. But for example, you know, you can put a fuel can in the back of your car, so it's a good idea to always have fuel with you in case your car does run out, and that's giving the player a chance to manage their resources. But if you do find yourself without fuel, there is a couple opportunities for you. One, the car doesn't ever actually completely stop, so you can limp somewhere, right? You can eventually go someplace. It wouldn't be very good in car combat, but at least you can get from point A to point B. And we also give you an opportunity to fix the car right on the spot, fill the car up with gas, but it will cost you.
And speaking of the cars, you can really customize the car and make it look and feel the way you want. What are the options that players have to customize their vehicles?
Okay, so the car can be customized in a number of different ways. There's two ways you can look at it though. One is like, okay, what is the performance of the car? Or what is the way, how does the car handle? So on the handling side, you want to manage weight to the power ratio and the traction of the tires. That's what you need to think about. But on the other side, there's the combat. You want to think, okay, I want something that can ram something or protect the body of my car. But those things often are very heavy pieces of metal. So when you start thinking about combat without thinking about performance, your car might get out of balance. So the player is going to all the way through think about tinkering with their car and coming up with some sort of combination of things that they feel comfortable with. And then on top of that, you can think about, well, what I want it to look like. There's different hood ornaments you can put on it. You can get different kind of paint jobs, of course, and body types. You can change the body type completely. So there's a number of ways that you can end up with a car that will be completely different than your buddy's car.
And since it's an open world game, some stuff people always ask is there a system like fast travel in the game?
Yes, of course. We want people to drive around and have fun with the car, but there's just other times you want to get over there quickly and do something else. So there is an unlocking fast travel system that the player will eventually open up, and that will create that convenience for the player.
So as with, I guess, every open world game, there will be a lot of collectibles and side missions and stuff you can do outside of the campaign.
Absolutely. The campaign is robust, but I would say that what you can do outside of the campaign makes up for the majority of the game. And like you said, there's all kinds of side quests and missions and collectibles and just stuff that you can do in the sandbox world.
And what can you tell us about the actual campaign? How long will it last to just, get straight from point A to point B in the campaign, and what will players see?
Well, if you really focus on the narrative of the game, which is fine. I think that would be a very satisfying experience. That would be a 12-15 hour experience. However, the players that want to do everything in the game, that will be up around 100. So I think a typical playthrough will be somewhere in between that time. Obviously, that's a huge chunk of time, but it will just be up to the player and what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. By playing the narrative, you're going to get this very rich story. You're going to understand a bit more about Max. At the surface, it sounds like, okay, you need to build a new car. That's just the very top. But underneath, you start to learn much more about Max as a character, a bit more about his past, and just the demons that he battles inside of his head, which obviously is why he's called Mad Max.
And if I take a look at this huge open world and think about the post-apocalyptic future, I'd say, wouldn't that be a great opportunity to have other players also invade my world in some sort of online battle? But I think Mad Max is single-player only.
Mad Max is a single-player only. At the very beginning, we thought Max is a loner. It's a solitary kind of character, and we wanted to create that experience. And so we didn't think about multiplayer or any sort of co-op or some other type of social connectivity during the gameplay. However, we do have the ability to let the player compete against other players with their magnum opus. We call them opus wars. So you can have various different types of races, and based on your car, you can see your friends' configuration compared to yours and compete against times and things like that. So I think it's a simple thing, but it's also very satisfying to be able to see your buddy's car and go, okay, that looks pretty kick-ass, and there's my puny little car. However, I kicked his ass in the time, so it's a bit of take. But like what you were explaining, that sounds fun, but we chose to stick to the single player.
And do you have plans on expanding the game post-release, like with a season pass or DLC content? Is there anything you can tell us at that point?
We do have some Day Zero DLC that we've announced, but the other stuff we haven't quite announced yet.
But it will be there.
Well, we haven't announced that yet. Let's just say, we want to properly support this game, and so we can go from there.
Okay, Frank, thank you a lot for talking to us, and thank you a lot for watching us.